You ever pick up your phone to do one simple thing, like reply to a message, check the time, or open one app, and then suddenly you're somewhere else entirely? Different apps, different thoughts, different videos, no memory of the transition. And the weird part is this. You didn't do anything physically exhausting, but your brain feels weirdly tired anyway. Not sleepy, not burned out, just mentally scattered. Here's the thing most people don't realize. That feeling isn't random. It's caused by one micro habit you repeat all day long without noticing, and it's quietly draining a massive amount of your mental energy. My name is Eddie, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people think, feel, and act the way they do. If you're someone who struggles with overthinking, habits, motivation, or understanding your own behavior, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, most people think they're tired because they did too much. But in reality, a huge part of modern fatigue comes from something completely different. Not finishing your thoughts before switching to the next one, or, in psychology terms, constant context switching without closure. And this is where it gets really interesting, because your brain does not experience your day as separate tasks. It experiences it as a continuous stream of attention. So every time you switch, before finishing something, you're not just changing activity. You're leaving a thought unfinished in the background. Psychologists call this attention residue. And studies, including work by Sophie Leroy at the University of Washington, show something important. When people switch tasks before completing one, part of their attention stays stuck on the unfinished task, even when they fully move on. So imagine trying to focus on something new while a piece of your brain is still holding on to what you just left behind. That's the hidden drain. And now, here's where people get it wrong. They think multitasking is the problem, but it's not multitasking. It's fragmentation. Because every switch has a cost. Your brain has to shut down one context, load another, rebuild focus, and reorient itself. That process doesn't feel like effort, but it burns mental energy every single time. So even if your day looks easy on paper, your brain has been restarting itself over and over again. And here's what most people don't realize. Your brain hates unfinished things. There's a psychological phenomenon called the Zeigarnik Effect. Unfinished tasks stay active in your mind longer than completed ones. So every time you leave something half done, your brain keeps it open in the background. Not loudly, but silently, like a tab you forgot is still running. Now, multiply that by a normal day. Messages you didn't finish replying to, thoughts you interrupted, tasks you started and abandoned, conversations you mentally left midstream. Suddenly, your mind isn't dealing with one thing at a time. It's tracking dozens of incomplete loops in the background. And you don't feel it as thoughts. You feel it as fatigue. Mental fog, low motivation, that I don't know why I feel off feeling. Now you might be thinking, okay, but switching tasks is normal. I can't just focus on one thing all day. And you're right, you can't. But here's the difference most people miss. There's a huge gap between intentional switching and unconscious switching. Intentional switching is when you finish a thought, close a loop, and move on cleanly. Unconscious switching is when you jump mid-thought because of impulse, distraction, or stimulation. And modern life is basically designed to trigger the second one constantly. Notifications, messages, short videos, tabs, constant availability. Every one of them trains your brain to abandon attention early. And here's where it gets dangerous. Your brain learns from repetition. So over time, staying in one place starts to feel uncomfortable. Not because it's hard, but because it's unfamiliar. Your attention span isn't disappearing. It's being retrained. Now here's the dopamine layer most people completely miss. Every time you switch, your brain gets a tiny reward. New input, new stimulus, new novelty, dopamine. So your brain starts associating switching with relief, not focus. Switching becomes the habit, not because it helps you, but because it feels slightly better in the moment. And that's the trap, because what feels good short-term often creates fatigue long-term. Here's the core insight. You don't feel tired because you did too much. You feel tired because you never finished enough cleanly. No closure means no reset. And no reset means your brain never fully clears its background processes. So what do you actually do about it? Not some complicated system, not a productivity overhaul. Just one shift. Finish before you switch. Before you move to something else, ask yourself, what is the smallest complete step I can finish right now? Not the whole task, just closure. Send the message, finish the sentence, complete the thought, close the loop. Because closure is what tells your brain, this is done. And when your brain registers completion, it lets go. Second thing, if something interrupts you, don't trust your memory, write it down. Because your brain panics about forgetting things, and that panic is what drives switching. When you externalize it, your brain relaxes. And finally, pause before you switch, just a couple of seconds. Because most switching isn't a decision, it's an impulse. And breaking the impulse is enough to change the entire pattern. And here's what happens when you fix this. You don't suddenly become superhumanly productive. That's not the point. You become mentally quieter. Less fog, less background noise, less unexplained fatigue. Because your brain stops running 20 unfinished thoughts at once. And that mental weight you thought was normal, it starts disappearing. So if you feel drained even on days when you didn't do much, it might not be burnout, it might just be fragmentation. Not too much work, just too many unfinished loops. And fixing that doesn't require more energy. It gives your energy back.